Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is make miso soup. It's one of my favorite little sides to a meal. You're just going to need several ingredients. You're going to need miso paste, some tofu, and some dried seaweed or wakame, and then some dashi stock. So this is actually niban dashi, which is the second extraction, if you will, from the katsuobushi and from the kelp. So we only need about 2 cups or 500 mils. So one of the, if you're going to be using dried wakame, one of the things that you want to do is reconstitute it. So I usually put a little bit of hot water on top of it and let it soak for a little bit. The base recipe that I use for miso soup is basically 2 tablespoons of miso paste, about 1/3 of a block of tofu. This is a 14-ounce package. Sometimes they come in a 19-ounce package, so just make the adjustment accordingly so you don't have too much tofu. So we'll just go ahead and drain the tofu right now, and I'll use about 1/3 of it. Just put the rest back into the container. Again, you can use as much or as little as tofu as you want. And then I just like to cut them into little squares. I'm actually using soft tofu, but you can use whatever kind you want. Okay, let the water come out so it doesn't dilute your soup. And so one of the things I do is I just wrap it in a paper towel and let that soak up any additional water. You can see that the wakame has started to reconstitute. It's a lot bigger. This is roughly maybe 3 tablespoons now. It was about a tablespoon dried. Okay, so what we're going to do now is cook the miso soup. So I have my pot here ready to go. Turn on the stove. So we'll start by adding in our dashi. And I will put in 2 tablespoons of miso paste, sorry. I'm actually just going to measure it out right now. So one of the tricks that you need to do when you're making this miso soup is not boil the miso after you put it in, because it is delicate. The flavor and the aroma will be lost if you boil it, and also there are some little bacteria and things that you don't want to kill off either, so do not boil your miso soup. So I have my 2 tablespoons ready to go. I'm going to go ahead, and once this starts to simmer, I will add in the wakame that I have soaked. Also my tofu, which is nice and chopped into little pieces the way I like it. And we will be just about ready to eat miso soup in a few minutes. It's not too difficult to prepare. One of the things that you can do to, if you get bored of the standard tofu and onion, is you can change the ingredients. So for example, in the springtime, what you can do is put in bamboo shoots when they're in season. During the summer, you can use okra or asparagus, which is pretty tasty. During the fall, you can add mushrooms and aburage, which I like. And in the winter, which is coming up right now, you can use like daikon, you can use spinach, and things like that. So whatever it is that's in season, or whatever it is that you feel like eating, miso soup is pretty versatile, and you can put a lot of different things in it and it'll still taste pretty good. So you can use ichiban dashi or niban dashi to make your miso soup if it doesn't have dashi in it already. This one doesn't. But it is kind of a waste, I feel, to use ichiban dashi because the flavor of the dashi is very strong. So you want to really focus on the flavor of the dashi rather than the flavor of the miso. And that's one of the reasons why niban dashi is used for nimono and things like that. Nimono or stews, they're cooked for a long time. So the flavor is really, it's not so much about the dashi, it's more so about all of the other flavors that are added to it. So, let's see. Alright, so it's starting to boil. I'm going to go ahead and add in the tofu and wakame so that it can cook. Some people intentionally leave out the wakame soaking water because it can get a little dirty, so they say, from the wakame being dried outside due to the dust that might accumulate. So just one thing to keep in mind. So the wakame is in there. Now I'll add the tofu. So give that a little stir, and once it starts to boil a little bit more, then I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat and stir in the miso paste. The soup is pretty hot right now, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat. I'm going to go ahead and add in the miso paste. Give it a good stir to make it dissolve. Okay, so it's just about ready to be served. There's no more big clumps anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and serve it. Alright, so a couple things about miso paste, or miso soup, I mean. It's one of my favorites. You know, it's so versatile. There's different, depending on the region in Japan that it's made, there's a lot of different variations on the ingredients and also the flavor. So some miso that's made in Hokkaido will taste very different from some miso that's made in Kyushu, for example. One's up at the north and one's at the south end of the country. Miso paste can also be used for various dishes like vegetables, meats, seafood even, sauces. So it's something that, you know, you'll see all over the place. And especially, you know, if you're eating out in restaurants in Japan, they'll always serve it with your, depending on where you go obviously, but they'll send it they'll serve it a lot of times with rice and whatever it is if you're eating at like a set meal or a teishoku type of place. So miso soup is called miso shiru in Japanese, and that's basically miso, which is obviously the paste, and then shiru, which means soup. So the stuff that you get in restaurants oftentimes isn't so good here, at least in the States. What I found is it's usually pretty watery, so hopefully if you get a chance to make this at home, you'll see how strong and how much flavor there can be really in this little soup. So it smells delicious. All right, see you next time.